An overview of Onedb. So, what is Onedb? Onedb is a powerful business software platform which includes many ready-made applications like accounting, customer relationship management, invoicing, the kind of apps you'd expect to run a business. But what's unique about Onedb is it includes this incredible no-code application builder. So you can build your own apps to make you much more efficient for any kind of business. So, for example, say you're an insurance broker, a mortgage broker, and you want to build an app to make you more efficient to capture your data. With Onedb, you could literally build that kind of app within a couple of days, and you'd have a perfect application perfectly suited for your business. So I will actually do another video with some examples of how to build apps for a few examples, like a mortgage broker, like a veterinarian, just kind of businesses that people can easily understand, just to show you how easy it is to build these applications using Onedb. You can think of it as well as like a huge toolkit. I mean, we've spent like 10 years building all these components so that you don't have to keep build them yourself. Because what happens with traditional software development is they keep reinventing the wheel and keep having to rebuild components. So ours is much more like a Lego kit. You plug components together, and you work at a much higher level of abstraction, which is why we can literally build apps with it literally 100 times faster than traditional software development. And the other good thing about doing it this way is you get immediate feedback, so you get much faster iteration. With a traditional software development, you've got a very laborious process where you bring developers in, you try and get them to understand your business, you've got to write sophisticated specs, you've got to let them go away, build something, then you've got to test it, then it's a lot of trial and error involved. With ours, you can just start building, and then if you get immediate feedback whether it's any good, and then you can just so easily change it. That's why it's so powerful. So I'll just take you through some of the components that we've got in the system, so that you can get a good idea of how it works. So the most important part of the system is our entities. So you can think of entities as a representation of something that's independent typically in the real world. So, for example, a customer, an invoice, a product, an item. So they're the entities you need to think about. The other thing, actually, I'll show you some entities. So if I click on entities here, we've got hundreds of ready-made entities. Then what I'll do is show you, here's an example of a sales invoice, which I guess most people can relate to. So the way we construct entities are through attributes here. So these are the attributes or fields. So you can think, if you were thinking of a spreadsheet, for example, they would be the column headers, or a SQL table, same thing, they would be the headings. And what we have is we have different kinds of attributes. So you can have, like this sales invoice here is what we call an ID. So that's a ready-made field type. So I'll come to field type. So that field type is a way to constrain the information. It's based on database types. So I've created a field type called ID. And what that means, that helps to ensure that it's unique. So for example, here you can see including ID. If that's ticked, it makes sure that any value for this field has to be unique. So we've got all kinds of constraints built into the system. We've also got a very powerful feature called use default value. So here the default value is an auto increment. And we've set up an auto increment for sales invoice. So what that means is whenever somebody enters a sales invoice, it automatically defaults to the next number. So it's just a sequential numbering. Here we've got an invoice type, which is a relationship to another entity called invoice type. Okay. Similarly, customer, that's relationship to another entity called customer. Currency, same thing, relationship to another entity called currency. And one thing you might notice here is we've got a default where we go and get the default currency from the customer. So that's a really nice feature with Onedb, is you can create these very powerful defaults so that people never have to rekey data. It can calculate values based on the context. So for example, here the customer has a default currency. So in this example, which is typical, the customer typically deals with one currency, but they might not do. So the user can override that value. If you clicked user cannot override, then that wouldn't be the case, obviously. So you can grab information from, when you're creating a formula default, you can grab information from the customer. So that was an example there where you can literally go up the tree and go as far as you want up the hierarchy from any kind of relationship that's in the system. So for example, customer group, I may want to grab some information there. Customer type, I might be storing information there, and that'd be useful to you. For example, contract type or product type, things like that. Okay, come back to here. Like dates are another kind of value, just a value. So this field kind is a value. And again, we've created a type called date. Credit period here is just the number of days. And here, again, it comes from the customer. So it's set up from the customer, what's their credit period. Then due date is a simple formula, invoice date plus credit period. So again, you see we've got defaults right throughout this entity. Here we've got things like a calculated field. So this is what we call a materialized calculation. So it stores it in the database, makes the system faster and more robust rather than recalculating values all the time on the fly. So here we've got a simple formula where we say, right, sum invoice items line sale. So I think that's fairly self-explanatory. This invoice items here is a subcomponent of this entity. So we can create a subcomponents, and it's like a one-to-many relationship between the header, the sales invoice, and the sales lines here. Okay, so then at the sales line is where you have things like the item. So which item are you selling? What's the stock, etc. VAT rules. So won't go into too much more detail, but you get the idea. So I'll just show one example of how you can quickly customize this entity. So say you said to yourself, right, I want to add a project. I want to do project invoicing. You could add a field. You could say field kind is a reference. So that creates a relationship. Then the field type is project. So you start typing project and you see it comes up project. Then you create field type project, do save. That's it, job done. Okay. So that shows you how easy it is to customize the system. The other nice thing, so we work from the entity forward. So what's so powerful about this is once you create your entities and your relationships and you do build here, it automatically creates a nice user interface. So that's what's so powerful about the system. Is you normally with the systems it's very fiddly and time consuming creating user interfaces. With our system, it's really easy to it automatically does it. And the other nice thing as well is what you can do is you can change the layout of the user interface very quickly. And so, for example, here we've got a grid. And we can change the layout of the grid very quickly. I won't go into it now. What I'll do is I'll go show another video where you can see how easy it is to do things like that, because don't want to get into too much detail. So that was a quick flavour of entities. Then what we've also got is views and views are very powerful because they enable you to create reports and views of any kind of data and to relate any kind of data from any entity together. And what you can do also is you can do a relationship between entities as well as other views. So here, for example, I've got a view definition for price list prices. And what I've got here is relationships between various entities related to price lists and prices. So price list items, that relates back to item entity. This shows you the relations. Here what I've done is I've ticked which fields I want to show which I want to grab the information for and show in my report. So here, like item, this is then related to product line, might be related to product group as well. Then you've got things like customers related to customer group, etc. So this is quite a complex one. I just want to show you how, but it's very easy to create these relationships because you literally just click on here and say, on here and just say add a relation to the current source. You say, do I want it related to another entity, another view? You can also create functions very easily and do set returning functions, things like that. Again, I'll do another video showing exactly how to create these views. Just want to give you a quick idea of what's actually possible with the system. So another powerful feature we have is called a link transaction. So with a link transaction, what you can do is you can have one entity automatically create a transaction with another entity. So with this example, it's sales order to invoice. So what we do is we create steps, a bit like a workflow, but it's a very simple kind of workflow. So here's the header, the sales invoice. The next step is the sales items, which is the lines of the invoice. So at this header level, it's very straightforward because the order is very similar to an invoice. So it's kind of a one-to-one mapping. But here, like you've got an example there where the order delivery date minus 2 days equals a ship date. So you can do that kind of logic as well. So you can do more than one-to-one mapping. So that's surprisingly useful, this link transactions, because it makes the system much more efficient. As you can imagine, for example, it can do things like post depreciation automatically, post journal invoice, general ledger journals, that kind of thing. So you can just make the user very productive where they never have to rekey any information. Yeah, so workflows are more advanced than linked transactions. So here we've got an example of a workflow of assigning a case ticket. So this is in the customer relationship management, where you need to have some logic about how to assign tickets, whether to send emails, whether set statuses, things like that. So you can have this branching logic, and you can do quite powerful functions. So for business processes, you can create powerful workflows. Again, I'll do another video, goes into detail about this. So we've also got Widget Designer. So here was an example creating a calendar widget. So this is for the user interface, where you can create all kinds of widgets, like date pickers, like lookups, like calendars. We've got another kind of widget we created was a spreadsheet. So as well as the views into the data and the functions into the data, you can also create spreadsheets, which can use views as a source, entities as a source, or even users can enter directly information into spreadsheets. And you could do things like formulas, obviously, because it's a spreadsheet. So this is a sum when it's a balance sheet item, sum it. When it's a P&L item, sum it there. So there's just a simple example there. Case when is profit and loss, then sum it. Otherwise, don't sum it. So this uses the format from SQL, which is really powerful language, so it can do any kind of data manipulation. We probably will add Excel formulas as well, but at the moment we use SQL, which can do anything Excel can do and more. I really like SQL, it's incredible. And actually, I forgot to mention, within the views you can use SQL as well. So if you don't want the point and click interface, if you're familiar with SQL, then I actually prefer using SQL because I've been doing it for years and I love SQL. So this system offers you the full power of SQL, which again gives you incredible power and capability. So if I come back to the home page here, we've gone through entities, we've got views, we've got field types there, like creating extra constraints upon the field types that come with the database, things like dates and text. We've created even more sophisticated field types, like HTML, for example. There's all kinds of components in here. What I'll do then is I'll quickly show you some of the user interface as well, so that this is what the system builds as well. So these are some of the modules we've created. So we've created ERP, CRM, content management system, HR, tax. So that gives you an idea of the breadth of the system. So I click on the ERP here. Actually, since I showed you the entity for sales invoice, I'll click on sales invoice here. And so this gives you an idea of what it's like to create a sales invoice. So here's listed a few sales invoice instances. I'll click on a particular instance, and then you can see here you've got a sales invoice header, which is the kind of invoice, currency, customer, business unit, etc. Hugo Boss here, and here are the line items. So, and all this user interface was created automatically. So gives you. So you can see now, for example, if I want to add an item now, if I I'm sorry, spell it correctly. Apple MacBooks, silver, for example. Then if I put in a quantity, it grabs the prices, calculates the line sale, calculates stock levels, gets the VAT code, the VAT line, all completely automatically. And that was showing you the defaults I added on that sales invoice entity. So just gives you a flavour of how powerful this system is, because we built all the ERP and the CRM completely ourselves. I did most of it within a few years, compared to someone like Microsoft having, for example, on their Dynamics product. That's what I spent many years selling Dynamics, so I'm very familiar with Dynamics, and I would say this is equivalent to that kind of level, a mid-market ERP. So I built an ERP within 3-4 years, and compared to having 300-400 developers, Microsoft spent well over 10 years. So you can see where we've got this idea that we can build 100 times faster than Microsoft can build. Using the traditional way of software development, using languages like Java, C++, for example. So we take advantage of all the latest web technologies like CSS. So it enables us to create a nice interface very quickly. So we've got things like you can create portals, dashboards as well. What's the other ones? We've got customer portal there. So for example, here's a customer portal for case tickets. So we can make it look any look and feel. That's the beauty of CSS. So it's really easy. Like if you don't like the color of this, our default maroon kind of color, you can easily have your own color. You can have your own logos. Each user can have their own templates and make the system look completely different. So yeah, I think that'll do for now, because I didn't want this video to be too long, but I just wanted to give you a quick flavor of the power of the system and the breadth of the system. And then, like I said, we've got plenty of other videos which will give you a lot more information to go into a lot more detail. So you can get a demo system for free, and you can play around with it if you just contact us. And we're happy to have a video meeting if you want to discuss in more detail your requirements, and we'd even help. If you're a serious prospect, we'll even help build a trial system with you or for you, just to get you going. So we do like to offer good customer service. Okay, well thanks very much. Thank you. Bye.